Hi, sorry I can't be there with you today. This is a one-shot recording, so please forgive any ums and bloopers. Humanities 124 is part of the core and the first in the humanities sequence. It consists primarily of first-year students transitioning to college, experiencing a new community, a new way of approaching learning through living and experiencing. I am committed to the idea that humanities need not be confined to pages and slides or even the classroom. And especially lately, I've perceived a need for experience embodied in community and in the world. The content in this class is heavy. And so I'm exploring ways to do this in a way that brings the content off the page and grounds it in reality, connecting the ancient past to the present. These objectives, which are pretty recent in the past year, we've adopted these objectives with first year experience and our students in mind. But they can and should apply equally to students' study of the ancient world and their reading of the world outside the classroom. And it's this foundation from which the activities that I'm going to talk about today is rooted. So in the fall of 2021, I partnered with Amanda Ray as part of the First Year Experience pilot that connected first year classes with the goal of fostering connections of all sorts between students and between what we're doing in the classroom and in everyday life and community, both campus community and local community. I owe Amanda for these ideas, which she incorporates in Lang 120. I was able to tailor them to Humanities 124 this semester we worked together and have since evolved them and shaped them to align even more with the ancient world content and inquiries that define Humanities 124. We do this public art hunt in the first 3 weeks of class. I introduce it on day one. The ancient world is full of public art. Gilgamesh can't live forever, but he can erect huge monuments to his friend and his life and conquest, as do many leaders in the ancient world. On the other hand, as we see in the short clip below on Mexican street art, ancient art and motifs, sacred symbols and signs are today evidence of indigenous resistance and persistence all over the Americas. The following slides are examples of what students discovered when they went out to explore the public art of Asheville. And these are their initial interpretations as they take a stab at reading their physical environment and engage with the local scene, sometimes connecting with ancient stories, sometimes expressing just awe and appreciation for what they encountered. I thought this was a good interpretation of a piece that has always baffled me, located outside the federal building. The actual title of it is Passage. One of the calls of the assignment is to find and photograph as many varieties of public art as possible, from the official to the subversive. I appreciated how many students wrote about a second look, or looking more closely, in a sense, a deeper read. Later in the semester, after midterm, I've developed an activity that keeps evolving in which we engage with API Asheville Poverty Initiative, and most recently their work with 12 Baskets Cafe. Like we saw in public art, ancient and present, the voice of the marginalized, the poor, is often absent. Privileging the written word often means privileging the privileged. Like Brian Hook says in his video lecture that we see in Humanities 124, what we know of the poor in ancient times comes from their material culture, city plans, domestic artifacts, and also, I'll add, in the rituals and practices of ancient cultures that prioritized relationships over resources. Some of the materials I share with my students are linked here. Humanities 124 is centered around questions, and towards the end of the semester, we bring together stories, laws, speeches, and public art to talk about power, social, and civic infrastructure. Specific texts that connect with the work of Asheville Poverty Initiative and the phenomenon of 12 baskets are the New Testament texts, such as the feeding of the 5,000 and the Sermon on the Mount, and the indigenous Pacific Northwest Haida ritual of the potlatch ceremony. Sorry for all the small text. These are excerpts from students' reflections last semester when we went to the cafe and sat with Thorne and John, poverty educators, and Melva and Emily of API for a conversation. 12 Baskets has evolved over COVID to being a twice weekly grocery pantry and now once a week eat-in restaurant. After connecting with API through Amanda, I started going to the cafe regularly and hanging out in the garden, especially this summer when I started a small informal writing group on Fridays. Currently, I'm working with Kai, the program and cafe director, to invite my Humanities 124 students to participate in ways they feel led that straddle like a boundary between service and passive engagement, ways to invite them into this community for food and conversation, allowing students to choose how they want to engage. This is all part of my own evolving relationships with the Asheville community, a way of taking my own work off the page and out of the classroom. And I find it life-giving in a way I need my work to be right now. I like the picture here taken by my friend Crystalline, who comes to write with us. It's the gate to the garden at the cafe and some very lovely public art to end on. Okay, so it's kind of a lame last slide, but thank you. Hope to see you soon.